Hey, it's Arie here. Welcome back to another video on my channel. As you can see in the title, today's video is going to be very different from what I normally talk about on this channel. Usually I'm talking about, different ways of how you could, of course, make money online, how to grow an online business. I like talking about affiliate marketing, but in today's video, I want to talk about something, quite different actually, because I feel like this is something that is actually very important to, of course, spread the word about. This could impact YouTube as in terms of like in 2020. This could impact almost every pretty much almost every creator, at least to some extent, including myself. And although I don't have like a massive following on this channel as of yet, I believe that it is definitely worth talking about, because even if I could at least spread the word a little bit and create at least some awareness on this, then it's definitely something that I would like to discuss in this video. So essentially what I want to talk about in this video is the whole situation going on with YouTube, the FTC, and this whole new Coppa, new Coppa law, or Coppa, however it's pronounced, about whether or not Coppa is going to destroy YouTube on 2020. So I wanted to share my personal thoughts on this, pretty much go over a few things, and I also want to specify that this video is not scripted in any way. There are a lot of things that I of course want to mention in this video, but there may be some things that maybe I forget to mention or something like that. So I'm going to really do my best to, of course, go over everything that I possibly can. And anyways, let's actually get right into things. So if you aren't familiar with what this whole Coppa thing is, it's pretty much like this law that originated back in 1998, and it was to help protect children from, of course, giving out their information online, giving out like their name and email, all that type of stuff, to like online predators. So this is pretty much like a thing that was originally put in place to help protect, of course, children against that. But essentially, it was discovered later on. I believe it's around like, let me see if I can move my face right here. Okay. I believe it was around like 2013, I want to say. It was discovered that that wasn't as much of an issue in terms of, like people giving out their information as much as cookies that are, of course, placed on websites. So pretty much, like when you go to a website, you may have noticed that sometimes it'll ask at the bottom, this website uses cookies to, of course, helps advertisers, of course, track, your basic interests, and then it helps, them, of course, market better. So, you've probably seen that, on plenty of websites. But essentially, YouTube has apparently allegedly violated law where they agreed to pay $170 million for alleged violations of children's privacy law. So they weren't exactly, telling people about that they use they use cookies to, of course, track their visitors, and pretty much here they had to, of course, agree to pay this to the FTC. So I'm currently on the article on the FTC's website, and if you want to read more about this for yourself, I will have this linked down in the description below. I don't want to go and read the entire thing on here, because I don't want to, of course, drag this video out forever, but pretty much in a nutshell, I'll just read a little bit of it here. In a complaint filed against the companies, the FTC and New York attorney general alleged that YouTube violated the Coppa rule by collecting personal information in the form of persistent identifiers that are used to track users across the internet from viewers of child-directed channels without first notifying parents and getting their consent. YouTube earned millions of dollars by using the identifiers, commonly known as cookies, to deliver targeted ads to viewers of those channels, according to the complaint. It talks more about, the Coppa rule here, which I pretty much already kind of went over. But yeah, that's pretty much what, that's all about there. So, of course, YouTube, they pretty much, surrendered and said, okay, we'll pay the, $170 million for that. And now what's going on now, actually, is now the FTC is beginning to target individual content creators on YouTube, which is kind of scary when you think about it, because essentially what is going on now is, from now on, whenever you upload a video to YouTube, there's now a new setting in there where you have to specify whether your content is directed at children under 13, or whether you don't want any kids watching your video. Like if it's not directed to children under that age, then you of course have to specify. Now here's what I find is the big problem with this. There's a few issues with this, of course. I believe it's uh, channels that are, of course, making content, at children under 13. There's a few penalties that they're, of course, going to face in terms of, like, their content isn't going to be shown in the subscriptions feed, from what I heard. They're going to make 90% less revenue. Ads are not going to, play in the videos. Comments will be disabled. I don't think you'll be able to share videos, so all that type of stuff. Me personally, I'm not too worried about that because, my content is not, of course, aimed at kids. So, of course, a lot of people, naturally, they think, okay, well, if I say that, my content is not directed at kids, and let's say that I make more adult, themed content, then I'm safe, right? Well, that is actually where you could potentially be wrong, because YouTube is, they have, although it might ask, who your content is, of course, aimed towards, they have a system in place that, tells them, whether or not your content is of course, kid friendly or not. And there's certain things that you could have in your video, like, for example, having a colorful thumbnail. That could be enough to tell them that, this is kid-friendly content, and then it could be marked as kid-friendly. And, if that is the case, like, let's say that, I'll actually bring up the other article here that I wanted to, of course, show. But if if one video that you, of course, put up, you say that it is not directed towards children, and, YouTube or, the FTC, of course, they disagree, and they feel that, that they think otherwise, you could face a fine of over $42,000 per video that violates this. So that's pretty scary to think about, especially if you have lots of content that you have up on YouTube, which in my case, I'm creating content on a regular basis now. I've pretty much been uploading daily for, well over a month. I think almost 2 months now, actually. So although my videos are not aimed towards children, like, they could easily say something like, hey, your thumbnails are too colorful, or, you said, like, a certain word in one of your videos, and that could be enough to get, this fine, apparently. Now, the good news is that hasn't, been, like, officially confirmed and set into place yet. Because the FTC has kindly asked, people to, of course, leave their thoughts on, their website, which, if you want to actually, I'll just show it in here. So there is two things that you could do to, of course, help this. There is a petition going on where this, I don't believe this will really do much, but you could sign this petition. They're trying to get up to 500,000, signatures, which are currently at, like, 497,000, little over that at the time that I'm, of course, making this video. So you could just put first name, last name, email, and then sign the petition saying that, you disagree with this. But the other thing that you could do is you could voice your opinion on this website right here, which I will have this link down below, as well as the petition. And what you could actually do is you could write to the FTC personally, and you could share your personal, opinion on this whole thing as to whether or not you agree. Of course, the FTC is getting a lot of backlash for this. A lot of people are really just not happy with what's going to be going on. But you have until December 9th of, 2019, of course. And then if they decide to go through with it, then that could mean that a lot of people are going to start leaving YouTube. There's going to be a much less incentive to creating content on YouTube, because, then it pretty much means that you are kind of, walking on eggshells. So that's kind of the downside with it. And, the other thing that I wanted to mention in this video is that, I mean, I know my content isn't necessarily kid-friendly, but the thing is like, FTC is, of course, they're trying to, prevent, kids from, now watching, like, inappropriate videos or anything like that. They don't want kids to, of course, see that. But, here's the thing with that. Here's my personal thoughts. Regardless of what goes on here, regardless of what happens, there's always going to be kids that find a way to access content, that is, of course, inappropriate, no matter what happens. It really comes down to, parenting. Of course, their parents, they have, it's of course up to them as to whether or not their kids should be allowed to watch certain things on YouTube or any other website for that matter. And, saying that, like, it shouldn't be, I don't feel like it should be the creator's job, the content creator's job to say that, this content isn't, for children. It shouldn't be up to, of course, YouTube, because yes, there is, some extent to where, of course, parents, they would want to know exactly whether or not, certain videos are kid friendly, or certain channels are, of course, safe to watch for their kids. But ultimately, like, this shouldn't be something that should be like put like heavily on the content creators, because I feel like it's just something that is going to really limit a lot of it's really gonna give much less of an incentive to, of course, creating content on YouTube. So I'll actually show inside of my YouTube account right here. So I'll actually show exactly where this setting is. But if I go to my channel right here at the top right, and I go to, I believe it's YouTube Studios where you want to go, and I'll show exactly where this setting is. So I'm gonna move my face a bit more here. So it's gonna load that up for a second, and then I'm gonna show exactly what the new specification is. So whenever you, of course, upload content, you have to specify whether or not your videos are aimed towards kids or not. So I'm going to let that load up a second there. All right, so here's the setting right here. This is under the settings tab on the left. You click on that, it'll bring up the settings menu. You want to click on channel and then advanced settings, and then it'll ask, do you want to set your channel as made for kids? So in this case, I put, no, set this channel as not made for kids. I never upload content that is made for kids. While my content isn't exactly, I would say harmful to children, because literally all I'm doing is just talking about different ways of, making money on the internet. I like to talk about, like business related things. It's not generally aimed towards kids. So I set this as the option right here. But, unfortunately, even with this setting in place, it's very possible that YouTube, because they have their automated system, they may, mark your video as otherwise. There's always, some little mistake that they could make with their algorithm, or, perhaps the FTC, they, of course, are going to start looking at individual creators and, determining, whether or not their content is, of course, made for kids. And if they disagree, of course, you can get a fine of up to $42,000, which is pretty scary. And I feel like this is something that, if this actually goes through and this actually, takes place on, in 2020, in January of 2020, this is something that I feel could really hurt YouTube. And it could potentially even, kill YouTube altogether. A lot of people are going to be leaving YouTube. They're going to be having much less reason to, of course, create content on a, for YouTube, because, people are going to be, it's just going to be like they're walking on eggshells, hoping that, they don't, make a mistake anywhere. And what's even worse about this is that YouTube is, of course, the, what they've, of course, or the FTC actually, rather, they've given like a description of like, what content might be labeled as, kid friendly. So of course, whenever you upload content to YouTube, you have to think about, the subject matter of the site or service. You got to think about the video's visual content, the videos of animated characters or child-oriented activities and incentives, music or other audio content in the video, age of models featured in the video, presence of child celebrities or celebrities who appeal to children in the video. So even something like having a baby in the video, or having like some sort of, child like celebrity, that could be enough to say that, okay, for YouTube to assume that, okay, this content is made for kids, or, the FTC could think that. But then, like if you say like the word fuck in your video, like somewhere down the middle, and let's say that someone, doesn't exactly know that, well, then you are pretty much, kind of in hot water right there, because, and even if you say that, the video isn't necessarily made for kids, then, this could potentially get you into some trouble down the line. So it's just something that I really wanted to talk about. And, the thing that I ultimately wanted to mention here is that there is the petition that you could, of course, sign yourself to, potentially help this. I know petitions generally don't really do much, but there is that you could do. It takes like 2 seconds. And then there is this form right here, which I will link to down below. I will link to both of these sources down below. You could check them out. You could also check out this article and the other one that I was of course referring to. But I wanted to really just put this out there and pretty much kind of give my personal thoughts on this. Again, I'm not, like a lawyer. I'm not like, like expert in all this stuff. And what's even, more, sad about this is that even I've even heard from a lawyer's perspective, like a lot of lawyers even aren't exactly, sure on like what to say about this because, the information that YouTube and the FTC has provided on like, what content could be labeled as kid friendly and what, might not be. It's so vague that it's very hard to say, like what exactly to do. So that's kind of the thing, like what you might consider kid friendly could be completely different than, what someone else might can see as, kid friendly or, not aimed towards kids. So my personal advice is that, if you decide to create content on YouTube, definitely proceed with caution and also really think about, what might someone else think, who, like a complete stranger, if they check out one of your videos, they find your YouTube channel, what might they think about the videos that you're, of course, putting out there on YouTube? So that's really, I believe, everything that I, of course, wanted to really go over in this video. But anyways, I'd really be interested to hear your thoughts down below. What are your thoughts on this whole, thing going on with Coppa and YouTube? Do you believe that, it's going to go through? Do you believe that it's going to destroy YouTube? I believe if it does go through, it's going to, a lot of creators are going to, end up leaving the platform. And it's just going to hurt the platform entirely if this entire thing goes through. I'm hoping that, there's a part of me that feels that with the amount of backlash that, of course, the FTC is getting, with the amount of people that are really talking about this and really, speaking strongly about, that they, of course, want to, prevent this from happening. I'm hoping that, the FTC might consider listening to us because, majority of, the messages that they're, of course, getting with this, I've seen a few of them. A lot of people are really, speaking against them. But yeah, I'm hoping that they really do take time to, of course, listen to us and hear exactly what we have to say. But anyways, my personal advice here is that if you want to, of course, help this at all, my advice would be to check out, this link right here, which I'll have linked down below. You can go to the regulations.gov website and, of course, leave your personal feedback. But otherwise, that pretty much does it for this video. My face is really getting, I don't know how it got right up there. But anyways, that's pretty much everything that I, of course, wanted to go over in this video. Again, be sure to let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Share this with anyone who, who you think, should see this video. And definitely be sure to check out these sources that I'm, of course, mentioned in this video. But anyways, I hope you found this helpful and take care.